evening and welcome. Ooh, UFO. Tonight we are going to be looking at some maps of the supernatural. I'm moving my water out the way. The supernatural in the What's Weird on Earth Atlas. This photo was taken in Australia in 1966. It kind of looks like someone threw a special frisbee and took a photo, but that's not what we're talking about today. There will be a page on hoaxes, but we're going to talk about some very spooky, strange things that have happened all around the world. Our first page is, of course, haunted places. Beware of these spooky sites and haunted houses. You never know what you might find. A ghost hound, a headless horseman, or the apparition of a woman in white could appear around any corner. Don't venture in alone. So our first box here, there's a number 1 located right up here, and that is Sleepy Hollow. At the spooky, often misty spot on the Hudson River in New York, there have been several sightings of a headless horseman. There's a number 2 right here, and that is the Tower of London. Spectres of the many people who were executed here, including queens and princes, haunt this ancient English castle. Among them is the headless ghost of Queen Anne Boleyn, who was beheaded here in 1536. And there's a 3 right here. This is Moosham Castle. In the 1800s, deer and cattle were found dead near this castle in Austria. People who lived in the castle were found guilty of killing the animals while in the form of werewolves. Ooh, let's look at the map. See some haunted places. First, we have the Banff Springs Hotel in Alberta, Canada. This spooky spot has seen a lot of ghostly activity. One of its rooms has even disappeared. As in they closed it because it was too haunted. But anyway, the Sally House in Kansas, in the U.S. Since the 1990s, there have been stories of this house being haunted by the ghost of a girl who died in the 1900s. Here's Myrtle's Plantation in Louisiana, United States. This may be the home of at least 12 ghosts. They appear on the staircase, in a mirror, and around the plantation. That's the BART train outside. It's very quiet tonight. Normally quiet sounds seem very loud, like the BART train going by. St. Augustine's Lighthouse in Florida, in the U.S. Eerie footsteps have been heard here. The Tenkendama Falls Hotel in Colombia. This used to be a luxury hotel overlooking the waterfall, but it fell into ruin. That's when ghosts from the old days started to appear. Now the building is a museum. I point out the BART train because I've always thought it sounded a little spooky when it sounds like that, so this is perfect. Rose Hall in Jamaica. The spirit of a woman named Annie Palmer may haunt the grounds of this plantation. The Gray Man of Polly's Island in South Carolina, United States. Anyone who sees this figure knows that a storm or hurricane is on its way. The White House in Washington, D.C., United States. Visitors have spotted the ghosts of several former presidents. Fort George in Canada. A ghostly phantom called the Woman in the Mirror has been seen in the old fort. We have Mary King's Close in Edinburgh, Scotland. Buried underground since the 1800s, this street hides many ghosts. Chateau de Brissac in France. This ancient castle has its own ghost, a green lady. The Paris Catacombs in France. Filled with bones and skulls, these underground passageways are home to many ghouls. Poveglia Island in Venice, Italy. The bodies of thousands of victims of the plague were dumped on this island. No wonder it's haunted. Down here we have the Castle of Good Hope on the Cape Peninsula in South Africa. Apparitions of a tall man on the battlements and a large black hound have appeared at the castle. Here we have Borgvatnet Vicarage in Sweden. An old priest's house filled with ghostly goings-on, including scary screams and floating figures. There's Bangar Fort in Rajasthan, India. There's a story that long ago, many people in the fort were killed by invaders. The ghosts you may see here are their wandering spirits. Dumas Beach in Surat, India. It is said that many ghostly spirits live on this beach, and their whispers have often been heard here. The Delhi Cantonment Road in India. A lonely, spooky road where a ghostly lady in white has been spotted. The Forbidden City in Beijing, China. There have been sightings of a woman in white and the sounds of flute music reported from within these ancient walls. Aokigahara Forest in Japan. This dark forest has a spooky reputation. If you know, you know. Himeji Castle in Japan. An ancient legend says that at night a woman named Okiku haunts the castle well. Sai Ying-pun Community Complex in Hong Kong, in China. When this building was abandoned in the 1970s, many people said it was taken over by ghosts. Lawang Sewu in Java, Indonesia. Headless ghouls are among these scary spirits said to be living in this old building. The Monte Cristo Homestead in Australia. The owners of this creepy house have found the lights on and heard footsteps when no one was there. And the Sydney Quarantine Station in Australia. In the 1800s, anyone who arrived with a deadly disease was held here until they got better or died. Souls of those who died may still haunt this place. And the little fact at the bottom that I can't fit into the shot here says, a survey in 2005 found that 32% of Americans believed in ghosts or spirits returning from the dead. Now this one's cool. Mysterious monsters. Yeah, just making sure I haven't skipped a page. Spooky sightings of mysterious beasts occur all around the world. Some are of creatures that sound like dinosaurs from another age, while others describe monstrous animals, much bigger and more terrifying than any we know. So there's a pin here, but looks like it has a little thing too, so we'll read it when we get to it. The key for this chart, let's read the caption here. Many of the creatures shown on this map are strangely similar and appear in several different places around the world. This key describes the characteristics that these beasts have in common. So if it looks like this, it's a globster. Stinky, shapeless blobs washed up on the shore. If it's this guy, it's a chupacabra, or a vampire animal, also known as goat suckers. A big cat. Large cat-like creatures the same size as a wolf or a deer. A black dog or sprite or a pucha. Strange dog-like beasts with glowing eyes. I'm sure that's pucha, putsa, puka. Anyway, I'm going with pucha. Werewolves. Humans who've turned into wild howling wolves. A yeti. A hulking, hairy, human-like beast that lives in the mountains. A flying reptile. Terrifying winged monsters with massive beaks. Man-eating trees. Trees that trap human prey in spiky branches. A giant octopus. Huge sea creatures with many tentacles. And of course sea serpents. Gigantic snake-like monsters of the deep. So let's look at some from around the world. Starting off with this giant bird in Alaska, sighted in 2002. Several witnesses saw a massive raptor-like bird with a wingspan of 13 feet. Here's the one and only Bigfoot, I guess sighted in Washington in the U.S. in 1969. Photographs were taken of footprints that were 1.5 feet long and made by a large ape-like beast. Yeah, we'll talk about that again when we get to the hoaxes page. The alligator bird of Arizona In 1890, a newspaper tells how cowboys found a creature with wings and an alligator's head in the desert. The sheep killer in Puerto Rico in 1995, a wave of incidents where sheep were found with their blood sucked out of them. Yateveo in Nicaragua, 1892, accounts from travelers of a strange flesh-like vine called Yateveo, which means I see you. The chupacabra was spotted in Chile in the 1990s. This blood-drinking creature, known as chupacabra, appears in tales from Chile. The killer tree of Guinea in the 1890s. Travelers hear tales of a strange tree that could eat a human. Mothman in the United States, or Virginia, in 1966. Several sightings of a winged figure with glowing eyes near Point Pleasant. A giant octopus in Massachusetts in 1817. Many sightings of a giant octopus near the port of Gloucester. The Loch Ness Monster, Scotland, 1933. Newspapers reported sightings of a large long-necked creature in the lake. Let's look at the box that this pin has. Loch Ness Monster. There have been many sightings of a monster in Loch Ness, Scotland, but not all sightings were genuine. This 1934 photo was revealed to be a hoax. Some theories still claim that Nessie exists and that she may be an ancient marine reptile called a plesiosaur. Moving on to the... oh, so it's Irish. It's puka. Anyway, in Ireland, 1880, this creature takes the form of a dog or a horse and can be helpful or mischievous. The Beast of Bodmin, in England, 1999. When sheep were killed and a big cat spotted, the hunt began for the Beast of Bodmin Moor. Werewolves in France, 1521. In Poligny, 3 men were accused of taking on the shape of savage werewolves. Giant pond dweller of Gabon and Congo, 1913. An expedition heard stories of an animal the size of an elephant, had a long neck, and lived in deep pools. I'm trying to remember its name. It's Mbele, something like that. Anyway, the drawings of it were really cute. Anyway, a sea serpent in South Africa in 1848. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, sailors made a drawing of a sea serpent 65.5 feet long, spotted off the Cape of Good Hope. Monster of the Deep in South Africa in 1922. Newspapers reported an unidentified monster of the deep washed up on Margate Beach. A man-eating tree in Madagascar, 1878. A letter from a traveler told a tale of a monstrous tree that consumed a young woman. The bat-winged lizard of Zambia, 1923. Witnesses describe a fierce lizard-like bird. The Varaždin beast of Croatia, 1975. A trial heard about a terrifying dog-like creature with blazing eyes. Sea monsters of Norway, 1753. Seamen tell tales of epic battles between whales and octopuses. The Yeti in Tajikistan, 1979. Footprints made by a huge creature were found in the Himalayan foothills. This kind of looks like the Wampa from Star Wars. Anyway, just revealing myself to be a huge nerd there. Jungle werewolf of Thailand, 1960. A hunter came across this terrifying creature that had attacked a nearby village. Borneo's Yeti in Borneo in 1960. Stories appeared of a Yeti-like creature living in the mountains. You wouldn't think of Borneo as a Yeti kind of place, but okay. Here's the Hobart lobster in Tasmania, 1960. A giant fleshy blob was flung from the sea onto the coast. I don't know how I feel about those lobsters. That's really disturbing. The little fact down here says that between the years of 1921 and 2013, there were 3,313 reported sightings of Bigfoot or Sasquatch in the U.S. and Canada. If I remember, I think in all 48 contiguous states, there's been a Bigfoot or Sasquatch sighting. Isn't that strange? On to a map of UFO sightings. Strange lights and weird crafts have been spotted in skies all over the world. No one can quite explain what these things are. Sometimes people have said they have been abducted by curious creatures who seem to have come from another world. So we have just one pin here. Ta-da! In Salem Heights. 1961, is that what it says? No, anyway, Salem Heights. These bright lights appeared in the sky over Salem, Massachusetts in 1952. A member of the Coast Guard who was stationed nearby was able to capture the lights in a photograph. Interesting. Here's a little box up here saying, what are you looking at? Explanations for unexplained flying objects include unusual or experimental military aircraft or natural phenomena such as lightning, planets, or strange shaped clouds, as well as other items in our skies such as satellites and drones. So it could be military aircraft. They're top secret, therefore may not be recognized by the public. Natural phenomena, including the bright planets of Venus or Jupiter, sometimes mistaken for UFOs. Hardware, like drones at low altitudes, and satellites and weather balloons at high altitudes. And lenticular clouds, which are very strange looking. They make an oval flying saucer shape in the sky. So there's a little key down here. If you see any of these, it's a UFO sighting. Some of them are saucer shaped, some of them are cigar shaped. And if you see a little gray here, that's because there was a sighting or encounter with an alien. Alright, so let's see what we've got. There's a lot on here. I'm only going to read the ones with the captions. So let's start in Alaska, 1986. A Japan Airlines flight was followed by two craft. Mount Rainier, 1947, in Washington, U.S. Kenneth Arnold claimed he had seen flying saucers. Isn't that... Yeah, it's the fact at the bottom. I'll just read it now. It says, the term flying saucers became popular after Kenneth Arnold's sighting of 9 shiny discs over Mount Rainier in 1947. So, Kenneth coined the term flying saucers. Got lots of them. Here's Santa Catalina Island in California, 1966. Grainy footage of a UFO was captured. Very famously, Roswell in 1947 in New Mexico, U.S. Famous recorded sightings of a UFO that crashed on a ranch near Roswell. Lubbock, Texas, 1951. Report of lights in a V-shaped formation, which became known as the Lubbock Lights. I've seen videos of that. I'm not a UFO person, but that's a creepy video. La Pampa, Argentina, 1962. Truck drivers came across an object that rose up in flames and split into two. Each part flew off in a different direction. Bauru, Sao Paulo, Brazil, 1947. Oop, got a gray. Report of a close encounter with 3 aliens who emerged from a UFO. Minas Gerais, 1957 in Brazil. I can never say that right. I'm so sorry, Brazilians. Local farmer Antonio Vilas Boas reported that he was abducted. We've got Shag Harbor in Canada, 1967. A large bright object crashed into the harbor. Got lots over here and lots over here. Let's see, we have on Belgium, 1990. Several witnesses reported a wave of silent triangular black craft. Wonder if they looked like this. We've got Rendlesham Forest in the UK, 1980. Very bright lights were seen moving through trees and a craft appeared to land. We've got Granada, Spain, 1957. Fighter pilot crew saw a luminous UFO across Spain and Portugal. We've got Drakensberg, South Africa, 1954. A woman claimed that she made contact with aliens. Here in Beitbridge, Zimbabwe, 1974, a couple claimed to have been abducted. In Rua, Zimbabwe, 1994, a round aircraft with small figures inside it was seen by about 62 children near their school. Very, very interesting. We've got lots over here. We've got one in Kanpur, India in 2015. A schoolboy photographed a UFO. Bunch over here. We've got Kyushu, Japan, 1948. A pilot spotted a cigar-shaped UFO. Are there any others? New Hampshire, there is one. Not a lot of cigar-shaped UFOs that have been spotted. In Dalnogorsk, Russia, 1986, villagers saw a red ball crash into a hillside. Fragments from the crash site were analyzed and were deemed to be not man-made. So an asteroid, anyway. Hangzhou, China, 2010, UFO sighting closed the airport. No aliens from outer space allowed in China. The Boyanai mission in Papua New Guinea, 1959. Witnesses claimed to have seen a UFO and to have waved to its occupants. Well, that's nice. We've got Westall in Melbourne, Australia, 1966. Hundreds of people saw UFOs descend and then take off again. It seems like even in places you wouldn't expect UFOs to be spotted, there's been UFOs spotted. You wouldn't really think Papua New Guinea and you think, oh, friendly waving aliens, right? Interesting. Alright. Creepy curses. There are many tales about castles, houses, and treasures that appear to carry a curse. It seems that whoever comes across them suffers a string of bad luck. Whether the stories are true or have other explanations is up for you to decide. We've got two little markers. Start with this one, the Hope Diamond. It's currently at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., United States. And there it is. A large blue diamond brought from India in the 1600s was said to be cursed. It belonged to King Louis XVI of France, who had his head cut off, and later to Evelyn Walsh McLean, who suffered a string of bad luck. The curse was most likely made up to increase the gem's value. I can't believe that. We've got another one. Tamerlane's tomb in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. Tamerlane's curse. The mighty Mongol conqueror Tamerlane or Timur is said to have had a curse written inside his tomb. It threatened anyone who opened it with a terrible fate. Just after the tomb was opened in 1941, Nazi Germany invaded Uzbekistan. I don't think that's what Tamerlane meant. I don't think he was like, oh, when you open my tomb, the Nazis are going to come. Anyway, Tamerlane was totally the kind of guy who would put a curse on his tomb. Here is Pele's curse in Hawaii, the big island, Hawaii Island, in the United States. A legend says that anyone who takes away a rock from Hawaii will be cursed by Pele, the goddess of fire. Here's what I've been to, the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, United States. Sarah Winchester, widow of gunmaker William Winchester, thought she was cursed. She had a crazy house built with stairs that go nowhere to confuse the ghosts of the victims of the rifle. That's one way to describe it. It's a cool place. It's like an hour's drive away from me. Inca gold in Ecuador. There are stories of a lost treasure of gold, silver, and emeralds hidden by the Incas in the 16th century. However, it is said that the riches are cursed and that many who have tried to find them have perished. Tecumseh's curse in Washington, D.C., United States. Following a battle in 1811, Native American Shawnee leader Tecumseh and his brother supposedly cursed Governor William Harrison and all future presidents of the U.S. William Harrison's very famous for dying after he was sworn in as president. That's interesting. Cardenas Castle in Dumfries, Scotland. So many misfortunes befell the McCullochs who lived here. It was believed that the castle might be cursed. Bocca della Verita in Rome, Italy. A giant marble mask of a sea god has a curse, which says that if you place your hand in the mouth of truth and you've told a lie, you'll have your hand bitten off. Great Zimbabwe. in Zimbabwe. This city, built during the 11th century, fell into ruin and was forgotten. Explorers who tried to find it were said to have encountered a curse, which is meant to keep them away. Oh, here's a famous one, Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. It is said that anyone who opened the tomb of a pharaoh would die. When Tutankhamun's tomb was opened in 1922, many mysterious deaths ensued. It's kind of a vague threat, because everyone's going to die. You can't say if you do this, you'll die. Everyone's going... Anyway, the curse of Turan in Hungary. A run of bad luck for Hungary began when a shaman named Turan cursed the country in 1000 CE. Rasputin, St. Petersburg, Russia. Rasputin was a mystic who befriended the ruling Romanov family. He befriended the Tsar's wife. He was assassinated in 1916. Before he died, he cursed the Romanovs, saying they would all be dead within 2 years, which they were. Karni Mata, or the Rat Temple, in Bikaner, India. The rats at this temple are sacred. Anyone who hurts one will be cursed and must donate a rat made of silver to the temple. And we have the black sand beach of Koh Hingham, Thailand. If anyone takes a stone from this beach, they will be cursed by the Thai god of Tarutao. There's a fact on here saying the Boca della Verita was probably a Roman drain cover. And the fact down here says that Lord Carnarvon, who funded the Tutankhamun expedition, may have been the first victim of the curse. He died in April 1923, which, he died not very long after the tomb was opened, they should say. The Bermuda Triangle. A triangular area stretching from Miami, Florida to Bermuda and down to Puerto Rico has been the site of many vanished planes and ships. What could be the cause? Are there mysterious forces at work in this part of the ocean? I'm going to save the myth busting toward the end. Let's read the spooky stories first, and then we'll read the explanation. So, there's a little key. Let's see. It shows some of the ships and planes. Alright, so if it's a ship, it's a ship. If it's a plane, it's a plane. And if it's a lighthouse, it was a lighthouse. Let's read this one last, because there's a note for that over there. So let's start off with the USS Wildcat. In 1824, this ship was lost in a gale between Cuba and Miami with 31 crew on board. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen, loaded with tanks of molten sulfur. The ship was traveling from Beaumont, Texas to Norfolk, Virginia, when she disappeared in 1963. The Great Isaac Key Lighthouse. The 2 lighthouse keepers vanished during a hurricane in 1969. Okay, so it wasn't the actual lighthouse that got lost, it was the keepers. The SS Cotopaxi, right here. The cargo ship radioed a distress call en route from Charleston to Havana in 1925, saying that she was taking on water, and then she disappeared. The Piper PA-23. In 2005, this private plane flew into bad weather and was never seen again. Piper PA-46310P. This small plane went down during a thunderstorm over the Bahamas in 2007. The ER Coupe F-01. In 1965, the pilot and passenger were lost en route to the Bahamas. The Douglas Skymaster C-54G1D0. I'm not sure. This plane crashed into the ocean when it encountered bad weather, July 1947. MU-2B40. A private aircraft with 3 passengers lost contact with air traffic control in May 2017. Wreckage of the plane was found later. Oh, so it didn't go missing. It just crashed. USF C-119 Flying Boxcar. This plane was declared missing in June 1965 when it failed to arrive at its destination, Grand Turk Island. Douglas DC-3 and C-16002. Traveling to Miami from San Juan, blah blah blah, Puerto Rico. In 1948, this plane was reported missing. The BSAA Star Ariel, heading for Kingston, Jamaica from Bermuda in 1949, the Star Ariel disappeared over the ocean. The USS Cyclops, a large cargo ship, lost in 1918 with more than 300 people on board. The Carroll A. Deering. In 1921, this schooner was found mysteriously abandoned. Whether the cause was piracy, mutiny, or bad weather, no one knows. PBM Mariner, sent on a rescue mission to find Flight 19. This flying boat also went missing December 1945. Let's read about Flight 19. I think this is the most notorious Bermuda Triangle missing case. 5 Avenger aircraft went missing over the Triangle on December 5th, 1945. It is believed that the flight leader lost his way over the ocean. So let's read the little box about it here. A key event in the history of the Bermuda Triangle was the loss of Flight 19 in 1945. No sign of the 5 U.S. Navy planes or their crew has ever been found, adding to the area's reputation. And we have the SS Faro. The tragic tale of the SS Faro ended when the freighter sank on October 1st, 2015. It had sailed into a hurricane and all 33 on board lost their lives. And the BSAA Star Tiger. The Star Tiger disappeared without a trace in January 1948. It was making the long flight from the Azores to Bermuda. Now let's read about what exactly is happening, because here's the thing with the Bermuda Triangle, you guys. This stuff happens all over the world, okay? There isn't like one corner of the ocean that hasn't had a mysterious boat sinking or plane disappearance. This was just famous mostly because of this incident and, a couple of others. And it was like, oh, the coincidence of it all happening in this area. The little fact down here says that the Bermuda Triangle is 500,000 square miles. So, it is a very large piece of ocean. So, statistically, things are going to go missing in that space. That's my 2 cents on the Bermuda Triangle. There's nothing mysterious about it. But this talks a little bit more about how it's a very busy area. There's a high volume of pleasure yachts, private and commercial aircraft, and cargo ships. So more traffic, more accidents, right? The ocean's very deep here, and wrecks of aircrafts and ships are difficult to locate and investigate thoroughly, adding to the mystery. And hurricanes and tropical storms are common in the area between June and November. It's not really a mystery when someone sails into a hurricane and they're never seen again. That's just what happens when you sail into a hurricane. And see, here's where the Bermuda Triangle is. It's huge. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into Bermuda Triangle. Let's look at the opposite. Let's look at some lucky landmarks. These statues and stones are real-life lucky charms, visited by locals and tourists to ask for good fortune, good health, wealth, or love. Some of the legends about these landmarks arise from deeply held beliefs. Others are just light-hearted fun. Let's check out one of the more famous ones, the Blarney Stone. The Blarney Stone in Cork, Ireland. Kissing the Blarney Stone, you have to do that to kiss it. To kiss the Blarney Stone and be blessed with the gift of the gab, or fluent speech, you have to lean backward with your head through a hole in the wall of Blarney Castle, Cork, Ireland. This is safer than being hung by your ankles over the edge, which is what used to happen. We have the Wishing Bridge of Jaffa, Israel. It says 12 bronze plaques with the signs of the zodiac line the rails of this bridge in Jaffa, Israel. Although the bridge itself is not very old, the legend behind it is said to be ancient. Touch your sign, look out to the sea, make a wish. And we have right here the Bridge of Love. It's in Vrnjac Kabanja, Serbia. A legend says that during World War I, a Serbian soldier fell in love with a Greek woman, devastating his fiancée at home, who died of a broken heart. Other local girls sought to avoid her fate by writing their names on padlocks, clipping them to this bridge in Vrnjačka, Serbia, where the couple used to meet, and throwing the key into the river. We've got Lincoln's tomb in Illinois, United States. This statue of the former U.S. president's head has a shiny nose from being rubbed to bring good luck. The Alley of the Kiss in Guanajuato, Mexico. Standing on the third step of this alley and kissing is said to bring a couple 15 years of happiness. The Leo Cop statue in Bogota, Colombia. To solve many problems, whisper in the ear of this businessman's graveside statue. The Intihuatana stone in Machu Picchu, Peru. This stone on top of the Inca site is said to give you positive energy if you touch it. I've heard lots of stories about this place. The Trevi Fountain in Rome, Italy. According to legend, throwing coins into the fountain will ensure the visitor will return to Rome. Any money thrown into the fountain is given to charity. The Ako de Sewa Fetish Market in Lome, Togo. The world's largest voodoo market sells charms that traditional healers used to cure illnesses. The Weeping Column in Istanbul, Turkey. Put your thumb inside the hole in this column, and if it comes out wet, your wishes will come true. The Feroz Shah Kotla in New Delhi, India. Believers pray and pin letters to this fort's walls to ask the jinn for help. The jinn being like mischievous kind of genie creatures. Anyway, the Bodhisattva Pushan statue of Mount Eme, China. Touching the behind of this life-size 6-tusked elephant brings good luck. The Laughing Buddha of Hangzhou, China. Rubbing the belly of a Buddha statue is a traditional good luck practice that began in Lingyan Temple Monastery in Hangzhou, China. The Sensoji Temple in Tokyo, Japan. The smoke from the incense in this temple has healing powers. People immerse their heads in the smoke to make themselves wiser. And Il Porcellino in Sydney, Australia. This bronze boar brings luck if you rub its now shiny nose and drop a coin in its fountain. And the little fact down here is about Il Porcellino. It says that it's one of dozens of copies around the world of a 17th century statue found in Florence, Italy. Let's look at some hoaxes. Hilarious hoaxes. Some tall tales sound too bizarre to be true, but other times a crazy story turns out to be fact. A few of these made up myths and jokes, many of them launched on April 1st, known in many countries as April Fool's Day, have even tricked experts. Let's see. These markers here indicate crop circles. So this one up here is in Wiltshire, UK. It was the site of many crop circles created by the first crop circle hoaxers, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley. Then, over here, more circles appeared all over the world, such as this one in a field in Feldmoching, Germany. Designs have become more complex, as you can see. We've got right here the Cottingley fairies. 5 photographs taken in 1917 in Cottingley, UK, appeared to show fairies. Many people believed they were real, but in the 1980s, one of the creators admitted they were paper cutouts. If you've seen these, they're so obviously fake, but anyway. Also, over here in the UK, we have Piltdown Man. See, there we go. When fragments of a skull and jaw were found in 1912 in Piltdown, UK, experts thought they showed a new kind of early human. However, they turned out to be a hoax. Let's look at some other hoaxes. The Pacific Northwest tree octopus, Washington, U.S. A hoaxer created a website in 1998 dedicated to saving this endangered octopus, which he claimed lived in trees rather than the ocean. Right, here's the Bigfoot footprints. See, this is in California, so that's different from the other one. A hoaxer created giant footprints using wooden models. The footprints were said to have been made by Bigfoot, which is how we get the name Bigfoot for Sasquatch. Even though, anyway. Calaveras skull in California, U.S. This skull was first believed to be from a human who lived millions of years ago. It turned out to be a hoax and no more than 1,000 years old. Alien autopsy in Area 51 in Nevada, United States. Grainy footage released in 1995 showed doctors dissecting an alien. The film was later revealed to be fake. What a surprise. The Patagonian giants of Patagonia in South America. In the 18th century, a rumor spread that there were giants 12 feet tall in Patagonia. This was untrue. The tallest people were no more than 6.5 feet tall, which is still pretty tall. The sacred idol of Brazil. An explorer was given an ancient idol, which he was told was sacred. He believed it would lead him to a lost city, so he set off into the jungle to find it, but he was never seen again. Well, that's one way to get rid of tourists. The Morristown UFO in New Jersey, United States. The UFOs reported over Morristown in 2009 were actually made out of helium balloons and flares. The Cardiff Giant in New York, United States. A businessman had a huge petrified man more than 10 feet tall, carved in stone. It was buried and then discovered in 1869. Pierre Berceau in Gothenburg, Sweden. In 1964, paintings by an unknown artist named Pierre Berceau were exhibited at an art show in Gothenburg, Sweden. The artist turned out to be a chimpanzee. Now that's not a hoax, that was just Pierre the chimpanzee making paintings. The Eiffel Tower is for sale in Paris. Conman Victor Lustig made up a story that the Eiffel Tower was for sale. He managed to persuade several people to buy it. Yeah, it's like I'm selling the moon, you guys. Just send me some money. The moon's yours. The spaghetti trees in Ticino, Switzerland. On April 1st, 1957, the BBC screened a spoof documentary showing people gathering spaghetti from trees. If this is on YouTube, it's worth checking out because it's so funny. The rat fur coats of Johannesburg, South Africa. A newspaper reported that furriers were producing fur coats made from rat pelts. It's worth noting that the story ran on April 1st, 1980. The Great Wall of China demolition in China. In 1899, 4 newspaper reporters made up a story saying that the Great Wall of China was to be demolished. It was printed in several newspapers. Archaeoraptor fossil of China. A fossil that appeared to show a bird-like dinosaur with feathers caused a sensation in 1999. However, it was a fake, made from several fossils stuck together. Yeah, it's very unusual to find a fossilized feather. It's very, very rare. The drop bears of Australia. It's another funny one for tourists. There are stories of terrifying relatives of the koala living in the forests of Australia who drop down from trees onto visitors. They are made-up tales told mainly to tourists. You know, the first practical joke for April Fool's Day appeared 1392. Oh, and this is about the mermaid. In 1842, a mermaid was exhibited in the U.S. It was actually a monkey's body sewn onto a fish's tail. I hope you all appreciate my April Fool's Day videos, because I don't like to scare people or make up lies. I just want to be silly. Big mistakes. History is littered with mistakes, whether it's believing that a radio drama is a real event or failing to accept that a furry animal with a beak actually exists. Even experts get it wrong sometimes. So starting with the War of the Worlds in New York, United States. A radio dramatization of Orson Welles of H.G. Wells's science fiction book The War of the Worlds in 1938 was so realistic that some people in the U.S. feared that a Martian invasion was actually taking place. And we have Clever Hans in Germany. Trainer Wilhelm von Osten claimed he had taught his horse, Clever Hans, to solve mathematical problems. However, an investigation in 1907 revealed that instead the horse was responding to cues from the trainer, such as his body language. We've got the Afghan hound artist of Iowa, United States. The judges at an art competition in 1974 got a shock when they awarded first prize to an interesting wall hanging. Its creator turned out to be a 6-year-old Afghan hound dog. That's cool, though. The giant tortoises of the Galapagos Islands. English naturalist Charles Darwin set sail from the Galapagos Islands in 1835 with giant tortoises on board his ship. However, they were not to study but to eat. Later, Darwin realized how important the creatures were to his theory of evolution. Oh, big mistake. Christopher Columbus. Columbus's voyage to the Dominican Republic. Explorer Christopher Columbus set off from Spain in 1492 to find a route to India. He landed on the island of Hispaniola and accidentally found the continent of North America instead. The whole thing was just a big mistake. Oh no, not this too. The Titanic. In the North Atlantic Ocean. When RMS Titanic was built, it was believed to be unsinkable, so it set sail in 1912 with only 20 lifeboats for more than 2,000 passengers and crew. It hit an iceberg, sank, and more than 1,500 people died. Okay, I think I've brought this up on my channel before because this makes me really mad. Titanic actually had more lifeboats than it was supposed to have because it was the biggest ship. I think it was only supposed to have 16 lifeboats, so they just added more. And that was because they believed there are so many ships out here and that, it would take so long for a ship this size to sink that they could load people onto a lifeboat, send them to their rescue boat, and then send the lifeboat back and get more people. That's why there were only 20 lifeboats, okay? That wasn't a mistake. That was on purpose. The loading of the lifeboats was a whole other deal. There's some mistakes made there. The Supper at Emmaus, Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Famous forger Han van Meegeren claimed one of his forgeries was a painting by Dutch Renaissance master Johannes Vermeer. It was bought by a gallery in Rotterdam for $6 million. High Brazil, off the coast of Ireland. According to legend, there was an island called High Brazil. It was said to be hidden by mist and inhabited by magicians and fairies. Several expeditions set out to find it, but the island did not exist. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, a big oops. Construction of the Tower of Pisa began in 1173 and it started to lean in 1178. Unfortunately, the tower was erected on soft ground, and when the soil shifted under its foundations, it started to tilt. That is an actual mistake. The dodo birds in Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Anyway, European sailors who visited Mauritius in the 17th century hunted the dodo. Their ships carried rats and other animals who ate dodo eggs and competed with the birds for food. The dodos died out and were lost forever. Whoops, I guess. The world's largest tortoise in Iseshima, Japan. In 2012, a story went around the internet that a giant tortoise 59 feet tall and 529 years old had been found. The giant tortoise turned out to be a prop for the film called Gamera the Brave. It was just Gamera, one of my favorite kaijus. He flies and shoots fire out of like the holes where his feet go. He's really cool. The duck-billed platypus of Australia. In 1799, London's Natural History Museum received a strange specimen. They were sure it was a hoax. It turned out to be the duck-billed platypus. They are very weird things, aren't they? I knew this. After hitting an iceberg, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes for the unsinkable Titanic. Actually took 2 hours and 42 minutes. My goodness. I think this is the last page. Yeah. So next we'll read some strange, weird places around the world. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good